Trade Talk, powered by Travis Perkins.
Hello, I'm Sally Wallace and welcome. This is a podcast for anyone working in the trade. We're here to help you keep up to date with the latest trade news and advice. Joining me today in the studio is...
I'm Rory from Woodhouse Plumbing, Heating and Electrical.
I'm Karl Conway from KLC Builders.
And my name is Sally, and I have been married to the trade now for, celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, and we've been together for 16 years. So yeah, I have been with my builder husband for 16 years now.
And things still aren't finished off.
Oh, no, they are. But projects never end, do they? Do you know what I mean? And a challenge isn't always like, he's always got to keep taking on more challenges, which I'll explain more about in a minute anyway. But first of all, I have to say, just... as you can see, I'm wearing spectacles today. And if I look a bit weird, it's because I've got varifocals in. Check me out. It happens to the best of us, whether you're in the trade or not. Your eyesight starts to go the older you get. But this summer, I have to say, the bonuses about this summer is the fact that I've got varifocals and I'm absolutely nailing it. But one of the worst things that's happened so far this year is the fact that the weather has been diabolical. And I don't know if you can agree with me on that at all. Yeah. From a trade perspective, but just from a life perspective as well. It's possibly, I think I read the other day that it's been one of the worst summers in 20 years. Like one of the worst months of July last month in 20 years.
I think there's a stat to say, since January, it's only not rained for 5 days. Or something like that. Is that... Even if it's only rained a little bit every day, I'm sure it's between 5 and 10 days we've not had rain.
You lose out so much money and time, and customers don't see it, do they? It's very, very hard.
So, I mean, from anybody who lives in the UK, it's so disheartening. I mean, how many times have you heard people go, we're going to move. If I could move overseas, I'd move, but I can't because of the work. And it's true. And it's, whether you're in the trade or not, it's literally... the weather, unfortunately, has dictated so much this year so far. And especially, for you guys where you've got businesses that, there's certain things that you sort of put off for the summer months, isn't there? I mean, I know, from myself with Scott, the amount of times I've heard, I've got a roof going on this week. And he hates rain. He can't cope with it. I don't think he's got SAD. Is that seasonal affective disorder? Yeah. But I think he's almost there. He can't cope with the rain.
It's just frustrating now.
Yeah, he is frustrated.
I think, everyone, we moan whether it's too hot, we moan whether it's too cold.
I think he's got 3 roofs that need to go on. He's like, I've got 3 roofs that need to go on, and I've got a house that needs painting. And so everything that you would put off for those summer months, like doing sort of, outdoor work, like gardening, laying slabs, all of this, it just seems to have destroyed. I mean, it's been torrential recently as well.
It's not just the time though, is it? It's kind of, if you're doing a roof and you've got ridge tiles, and if you're still using sand cement to do the ridge tiles and it rains, it just streaks the whole roof. So then what it's done is it's kind of ruined the actual job itself. So then you either have to go back when it's a dry day, clean it all off, and then it's just snowballing.
I mean, Rory, your work, I mean, obviously, you've got heating and plumbing and electricity, but you also do solar panels, and has that been affected?
So luckily, a lot of our work's inside, but what we tend to do, the busiest months of the year are the summer months for the solar. We put it off in the winter because it could be icy, it's dangerous on the roofs, so we do it in the summer. But again, this year, you've got your schedule, you've got your plan, you've got your deliveries, you've got your scaffold up, absolutely chucking down.
Yeah.
It's so disjointed. Luckily, you can do little bits in the garage, but that soon runs out. So from a planning perspective, it's just massively frustrating.
Do you feel as though you've lost money or it's affected
100%,
you? Right, okay. So it's been pretty serious then. So we can joke about the weather, but actually,
no, definitely,
it has been serious.
When you price a job, you price it consecutive days just to get the job done. You don't price for half a day on, nothing for them to do in the afternoon, going back the next day, reshuffling of other jobs because that job's run over. It's definitely, it's been hard work. It's not been plain sailing like it usually would be anyway.
Right.
And for yourself, Karl, I mean, you're a builder, so I mean, digging out, it must have been, you're digging out and it's getting filled straight back up again.
Yeah.
So is it delayed you?
It can delay you in many things, because if you don't have a backup where, let's say, for instance, you have smaller jobs that you put in, I mean, someone's going to kind of moan at you either way if the rain comes, because if you have to stop a job that you're on, the rain's going to stop you, and you're lucky enough that you've got smaller jobs that say inside, or you can back that up. But then what you've got the problem is then you go off to do the job that you still want to work and you're going to earn money on, because you don't want to just stand there looking at a rainy building all day. then the customers are then going, well, you're not on the job. Why? What's going on? You've pulled your lads off, and you're like, well, we can't do it in the rain.
So it can have a domino effect on everything.
Many
then,
things
really,
with
can't
money,
it?
with the jobs, with time.
So you're trying to keep everything juggling still,
Yeah, and the
especially trying to
quality.
keep your customer happy at the same
Of
time
course,
as well.
yeah.
It's the one thing that you simply cannot control is the weather.
I think I'm going into water pumps. I think I'm going to go into water pumps and flooding because that's the way forward.
And you say, like, you know, there's ways you try and get around it. I mean, you can get tarpaulin on your scaffolding, but then that's extra cost. So
Yeah.
not only are you trying to juggle, you know, your team and around the weather, but then do you find yourselves forking out more money as well? Because the sort of the time of year where it's supposed to be dry for you, it's not. So is it become more of an expense in that way too?
Well, it's an option for the customers, isn't it? So you've got the main job that you're going to build with, however, in a scaffold, which is normal to get you to the height to do all kind of stages. But then you can also say to him, if they were on a set stage time and they needed to be finished for that amount of time, then you can get the scaffold that goes higher, and then you can put a roof over the whole job, which then is more or less 99% secure that you're not going to get any damage or any water. So then work can just keep going. But to have a house roof a roof over a house, you could be looking at $5,000 extra on top. So who pays for that?
Nobody
You've
wants to
got
pay
to
for
give
that,
it the
do
option
they?
for the customer. Most of the time they'll say no, so then that delay comes in.
Especially if they're not the sort of person who's going to make you a brew as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can see you'll make us an egg on
You're
toast
not having a
at your
brew when you're
house,
not
wouldn't
using
you?
my
I
loo.
know.
I think now the weather is people becoming less optimistic. It's like the Euros, isn't it? Everyone still thinks, oh, it's going to get better.
It's been horrendous actually for gardeners as well. So the garden, I mean, this year, I mean, I've the little thing that I have that I love is a green lawn, right? I just love a green lawn. So I'm one of those people who treats my lawn constantly, and I love a lawnmower. I really do. I'm a lady who loves a lawnmower. But it's been horrendous for that. Even landscaping and everything this year has just been one of the worst. I mean, the amount of things that I've heard that have had to be put off or put back or just postponed for next year. And one thing I must say I do love are the conspiracy theories from builders. Not just builders, but from everybody. But definitely because people in the trade talk about the weather the most because it affects their work, doesn't it? And it massively affects your work. And I get that. But who was it? I think it was one of Scott's lads said, they got to stop messing with the weather. I was like, who's messing with the weather? What do you mean? Government?
Cloud seekers.
That's it.
Cloud
What's it called?
seekers. Cloud seekers, I think.
Oh, seeding, is
Seeding
it?
is cloud seeding. It's where they make their own clouds in the sky, and then it's suddenly 2 minutes. I think
I heard about this. They did it in Dubai recently.
Do you buy into that, dear?
Do you know what? I think they do play with the weather.
I just
really
can't.
do.
I'm like anti-sort
I know
of-
we're in a valley in Manchester, and we're around the mountains
Manchester's
and
bad.
that. Yeah,
All the
Yeah,
time.
always.
I've been
Always.
to Blackpool recently a few times, and it's kind of like you get to a point, and then suddenly you look back in the mirror, and it's just dark and cloudy,
Yeah.
and then Blackpool coast is kind of open, and I don't know.
So if we go in, who does the seeding then?
I thought this
That's
was
Jeremy
I love
Clarkson.
this.
Jeremy Clarkson did a video on YouTube. He showed it.
If you're gonna convert me, I need to know more information on how it's done.
Yeah, we won't get on the flat earth or anything like that. We're not going to do it today.
I'd never heard of anything like this, so I was like, "Oh, tell me more! I'm loving this."
Yeah.
But apparently, there's definitely a thought going around that the weather is being tampered with, which is why we've got so much rain
Yeah,
at the
Jeremy
moment.
Clarkson did do a video. It showed you the machine, and it showed you them kicking all this steam or smoke, whatever it is,
Yeah.
the steam, into the sky, and then suddenly, half an hour later, it absolutely torrented it down.
Do you think that's what's been keeping you?
I'm getting a lot of roof repairs out of it, I think, and I'm all right. A lot of damp patches in houses.
I do love a good conspiracy theory, but I actually loved a bit of fact behind it as well, so I always find it quite great. What about workwear though for this? Because like in summer, let's be honest, we get a lot of flesh on sites during the summer months, but I think it's been completely reverse. And waterproofs, boots, all those kind of things. Is it something that you've had to spend more money on, or are you just kind of like digging out the winter wear?
Yeah, I think we, especially with the solar stuff, and early on in the year, with the temperature as well. So we had to buy waterproofs plus stuff that's a bit thermally insulated as well.
Yeah.
All the waterproofs. Just so that we can get on with the job, really. I wonder what scaffolders are wearing this time of year, because they've got the high vis with nothing underneath, haven't they?
Waterproof flip flops, maybe, or something.
I don't think
Flippers.
anything would stop a scaffolder though.
They're animals, aren't they? They're animals.
But I'd tell you something though. My husband's been wearing shorts because he's like, it's pouring down, but I'm sweating, and it is quite close. It's been really close this year. So I think he went on site in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and he went, Solly, honestly, all the lads are talking about my legs. And it goes, listen, because the truth is that he either wears a long sleeved, I can't remember what workwear it is, but it's like definitely like a builder's workwear. But it can be quite sort of, looks like it's a bit sprayed on, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So he normally wears long sleeves, those trousers with all the pockets in, combat things, where you sit down and you pierce yourself with your Stanley knife goes up your bum and all of that. And now he's like, I'm sweating. So he goes, they always say I look like I'm dressed in the winter. I've gone in a shorts and a t-shirt. Now it's, well, look at him with his legs out. Yeah. And it is, fashion on site is always a big topic, isn't it?
The actual boots that you're wearing, they've got to be comfortable, haven't they? They've got, you don't want them too heavy, it's got too much steel in them, but you also want your feet to breathe as well. Yeah. So there is probably different clothes for summer and winter, isn't there? But you get the rain in the summer.
So the thing is, you can choose. I totally agree with you. You've got a different like wardrobe, but are you quite picky about your wardrobe
I think people have. Like, it's like anything. You've got like a preferred brand for your drills.
Yeah,
you have a preferred workwear.
Yeah,
brand.
you do.
I always used to like Snickers stuff.
Yes,
but I think in recent year, it's just a bit more trendy. It's better fitted. Everything used to be like really baggy, functional, but now it's a little bit. It is, you know.
Stop eating them donuts were all right.
It's
fit into the old
this
pants.
Is it. And there is that question of like, well, where'd you get your boots from then?
That's it. Yeah.
Because I do find that there's definitely a standard of trend on on sites with the trade at the moment. You don't really see there's an old stigma attached anyway to a lot of the trade where look at the builder's bum hanging out there. I don't see any builder's bums at the moment, and if I do, they're quite fine, quite frankly. I hope my husband's not listening to this. His obviously comes up first.
I'll send you some pictures, don't worry.
Yeah, I've seen.
We don't want to leave you out.
Yeah. But I mean, when I say builder's bums, I mean one's literally hanging out, like literally hanging out. But now there seems to be, I suppose it's that TikTok thing that's sort of the dancing joiners or whatever they were doing, and you get lads that are doing dance routines and stuff like that in the pants and the boots and the riggers that aren't even done up, which isn't really a safe bit of a safety issue there, isn't it? But it looks sexier to have your boots undone. So it is almost like, like you say, this time of year, you're kind of taking your clothes off, but you probably find you're putting them back on, to be fair, aren't you?
Yeah, you sweat too much, don't you? You can put the waterproofs on, but there's nothing else underneath it, and then that's it. It's on and off.
Even though it's rained, it's still warm, isn't it?
It is, it's a challenge. It is a challenge, the weather.
It's definitely a weird one. So I think we can agree then that image is becoming more important on site or just in the trade in general. Something else as well, which I'd love to ask both of you, is do you think that staying fit and healthy really contributes to you being better at your job too? Is it something that you consider, or is something you both do? I can tell that you're both handsome men who like to look after yourselves.
Flattery gets you everywhere, Sally. Pictures are definitely on the way. Sorry.
I think, to be honest, with the physical job, that is pretty good enough for training. I think you can train it a bit more personally, and it does help. But I think you were lucky really. If you're behind a desk all day, you're not burning any calories, you're not building your muscle, but I think it's better than training, being on the tools, because you're using every muscle. You're not just one set, you're lifting stuff in, awkward positions, etc. I think it does help to have a bit about you, because when we get the apprentices who are in at first, the only thing they've lifted is like a PlayStation controller. When I say, right, get on the end of that radiator, you can see the sweat just dripping down the face. So
I'm a big believer.
It definitely helps.
Yeah, you've got to keep busy. You've got to keep going. I mean,
you're still on the tools, aren't you, Carl? You're still on the tools every day.
I need to slow it down, but sometimes you're teaching people, you're trying to show them what's what, and you're a bit of a perfectionist.
So outside of your work, where obviously do you dig your own trenches, or do you get a bobcat in?
We get the machines. Yeah, it depends if there's a lot of wires and pipes and things, and can we get it into the area? But yeah.
Do you exercise outside of this? So do you go and do your job on the tools and then go and do a gym session or do something else?
I used to. But like Rory says, is when you're doing this kind of work, you've got to be ready. It is pummeling. It's hard on the body. It does make you tired. But the only good thing is if you do want to get up and go, by the time you've actually done a hard day's graft at work, you're that warmed up. When you get in the gym, you are going double at it, so you can go at whatever size or however fit you want to do, because you're training all day.
Do you guys feel like you have a shelf life as well on the tools?
100%. I think it depends on the job, you do. But like for plumbing, for example, I've had to climb underneath a suspended floor that's like 16 inch, you just, as
Filthy.
you get older, you struggle to do that, or lifting like a cast iron bath out, stuff like that. It's doable, but it does take its toll on your body. Again, like you said before, with landscapers, I think there's definitely a shelf life that is heavy, hard work. I think there's and it affects your livelihood if you don't look after yourself and train properly and get. I think a lot of people as well don't recover properly. I think you should probably in that game go to a physio, maybe sports massage once
you've
a
got
month.
to stretch, you've got to look after yourself.
Look after yourself, because
eat well.
if you're not working, then you're not earning.
That's exactly it. That's where I'm at the moment with my husband. He has to go and see a guy. He goes to see a guy every few weeks just to make sure that his back's okay, because he was having problems with his hip. His hip was out. But, my husband's not on the tools anymore. In fact, all of the tools got taken out of the garage and they're now in Grandad's garage. So, because my father-in-law works with my husband, so he sort of looks after all the tools. But Scott's come off the tools. But one thing that Scott does like to do is challenge himself every now and again.
I've seen him challenge himself. There was when we were on a job, there was a massive piece of concrete, and one of the apprentices said, "I bet you can't lift that," and I was like, "Oh no!"
Don't you?
And I seen him lift it down the stairs, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
There's your builder's
Then-
bum.
That's my
There's
husband.
that
Then
woodbin at the
he
side.
threw it in the skip,
Don't
and I was
ever
thinking,
challenge
that's
him.
like a 5-man lift. That
Yeah,
I
don't
don't know,
ever.
but he's done it. Afterwards, he was probably in agony that he wouldn't
in the
show.
van.
I think that's
But
when I had to
he
book
did
him an
it.
appointment when he got home.
I was impressed, but not surprised. I knew as soon as he said that, he'd do it.
You have a shelf life, I think, on your body. Your
Yeah.
mind wants to go all the time. Your body is going to slow you down, whether you're a plasterer, it's your shoulders and your wrists, whether it's a
It's
builder, it's your
repetitive,
back.
isn't it? It's
Yeah,
really
your
repetitive
knees
strain,
for
yeah.
plumbing.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Scott's got new. I mean, he's into his 40s now, and he's very. I mean, he's been at it since he was in his early 20s, and he's. I mean, and when Rory says that, I mean, I don't want to blow smoke up his backside, but of course I'm going to because he's my husband. But he works hard. That guy works hard. But one thing that I always really admire him for, he's always got massive respect for the old boys that are still on the tools. Yeah. And he has. And when I say old boys, I don't mean that like disrespectfully in any way, shape or form. But you do have that certain type of gentleman who is probably into his 60s and his 70s, and he's still grafting.
Still going. Yeah, they can't retire.
And they can't stop themselves.
Yeah,
and even
good.
my husband will say, "Mate, why do you don't want to? Love it. Gets me out of the house. Gets me away from the wife."
So I think in a good way as well.
Yeah.
People are a lot more safety conscious now. Like when I started my apprenticeship like 20 years ago, we used to wear jeans to work. I didn't wear knee pads, anything, because my boss wore jeans. It was just, whereas now, the young lads, they're a lot more, have you got these? Can you get me some knee pads?
Yeah.
Can you do this? Which
Gloves,
is good. They
yeah.
all work. I never worked in gloves. I'd have like flux all over me hands and burns from the blow lamp. Whereas now, they all work.
You get these gloves now that are very comfortable to wear, and they're anti-cut, so a Stanley knife can go right over them, and you're not going to.
Which
do
I think is a good thing.
Protect you.
Well, your body's your investment. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but it really is, because you just said it earlier, Carl. If you're not fit and healthy, you're not working. If you're not working, you're not bringing in your income. Yeah. And that's the harsh reality of it. And that also comes down to not just looking after yourself physically, mentally, and also like eating as well. I mean, eating. The amount of times, I know that Scott doesn't struggle to eat. Good Lord. I used to prep his meals at one point. That's a joke, I'd like to say. By the way, prepping meals is just ridiculous. And sometimes they'll say, it saves you money. I don't believe that in the long run. You can spend more money prepping meals and freezing them all.
If you've got the room on site and you can have, like, say, a microwave or kitchen utensils, then you can bring your own stuff, and you've got it. It's a lot cheaper to do that.
Do you make sure that you eat? Are you a builder?
I'm the worst one for
See,
it.
I don't get this. I don't.
You're just busy, and you've got so much to do in the day, and I'll just get food when I'm passing somewhere. It'll be food isn't like, lunch isn't a priority for me. It should be, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like just when I'm on somewhere, that'll be like part of that journey, rather than should really take half an hour out, have me dinner, get me thoughts. But you've got so much to do that day. It's going to add on to the end of your day.
Yeah.
I'd just rather keep going.
Yeah, drinking's the main one, isn't it? You need
keep
the water,
hydrated,
because you're sweating that much, you're kind of working that hard.
Dehydrating.
Yes, for me, it's my head. I get a slight headache if I've not drank, and then you realise, hang on, I've not had nothing all
Do you
day.
electrolyte yourself as well? A lot of the lads have
I love it.
electrolytes. We've got electrolytes in the pickup.
Is it good?
Yeah,
every
day.
Oh, never.
Every day.
Restoring your salts. Honestly,
Right.
this is where I think that, you said it, Rory, as well. Young lads are really taking care of themselves, wearing the right gear, and they're looking after the bodies as well, because they know. And especially if we've got some really spot on young lads that are working with my husband. Electrolytes, good food, know for a fact that they're invested in themselves to be able to sort of see it through and achieve what they want to, achieve these goals of doing successfully, being successful in the trade as well. But electrolytes restore all your salts and your sugars as well.
You've got to put the energy back, haven't you? You've
That's
got to
it, honestly.
Especially if you're working all
ones.
day, definitely.
Right.
It's like,
I'll look into that. Lucozade is the only one I've kind of played around with. But
No, that's from the 1980s.
Is it? Oh, well, I've still got the same clothes, I think.
A bag of hula hoops and some Lucozade, I'm done. Curly whirly for dessert. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate it. Rory, thanks for your time. Carl, thank you for being
pleasure.
here.
Thank you.
If you haven't already, please do listen back to previous episodes. Plus, we've got some fantastic episodes planned in the future as well, including having a wonderful conversation with one of Carl's friends who is a lady builder. Oh, yes, I love it. In fact, she's pretty hardcore from what I can gather.
She is. She's the best worker I've seen. Honestly.
Get her on the barrow. So make sure you watch this space and we'll speak to you very soon.
Trade Talk, powered by Travis Perkins.